We'll be back shortly after this break. Why should you work? You work for dignity, you work for sustenance, you work for existence. You actually work for self-perseverance. You know, preservation, self-preservation. Because the thing is, once you work, you can earn money to take care of yourself and meet the goals that you need in life. You need to work. All right. So now, regarding references, so a former director, executive director of NTA program said that she met someone who had fallen out of favor with someone who she had put as reference.
Yes.
But over the years, she had forgot to remove that person's name and put
a new person.
A new person. And so the last experience she had with that person was what the person relayed to the person that wanted to.
Exactly.
So what should happen when you have those kind of things in your CV?
So typically, everybody should try as much as possible to update their resumes. Don't just get comfortable. It's the same thing I've been doing for 100 years.
Like every year or?
Yes, I would say every quarter. Just take a look at it again, read through, see what is relevant
or
as
what
of
you have
today,
gained.
what you have gained, what extra knowledge, what you can add, and then think, who do I need to take out? Some people, the job you're applying for, the referee you put there will not be beneficial to that job you're applying for.
Okay.
So maybe you should start thinking, okay, I'm applying for something different from my sector. Who have I worked with, even on a personal level, that can actually validate my experience?
Okay. Let's say you work with someone that has been jailed, and and you put the person's name on your CV.
First of all, they can't get across to the person.
Okay.
Number one problem.
Okay.
And then when they do get across, or let's say they try as much as possible.
The person's credibility will become a question.
Exactly, because they're wondering, how is this person going to reference you if the person is in jail?
Okay.
So that in itself is a challenge. I also think another challenge that people have is you left your organization and you probably left for poor reasons, bad reasons, but the organization forgave you and said, you know what, let's advise you to resign, let's not fire you so that you can get another job.
Okay.
What you forget is that a good organization will go behind your back to go and find out why you left. And at that point, they're not going to declare that they asked you to resign. They're going to state why you left.
Oh.
So people have to be careful. When you're doing things in your current organization, be very careful.
Because it goes into your farm.
Yes. In the next 5 years, the HR manager may even have been changed. And that one is the person who will receive the letter and just go straight and give the company the full download.
References are important, and it's it's uh, it's important for you to make sure that when you put a reference, you're sure of who you have put a reference as a referee. The other thing is the contact of the referee. Should it be email, phone calls, or phone numbers, or
Both of
addresses?
them actually, email and phone numbers, because you can send an email and it might get to the person's junk or spam.
Okay.
And when they can't get across, the organization may think you lied. So it's better to provide them with all necessary information.
And then talking about updating, it means that if you put someone's name and you find out the person has left that organization,
You have to change it. That is why updating is necessary.
but doesn't it mean that since that's the person you have the relationship with, if the person was working in Mobile, for instance, and then moves to Chevron, and you put the person's name as reference, as your referee, when the person has moved to Chevron, you put the person's name
Yes.
in Chevron, right?
Yes. You still put the person works in Chevron now.
Now.
Yes.
But
The organization
it was-
doesn't really even care if the person has left. What they need to know is you worked with this person at some
Exactly.
certain time in your
Okay.
career.
Okay.
And we need to verify that you are an excellent candidate, that you're hardworking, you're diligent, and the likes.
Okay. So this is why it's important to build good relationships wherever you're working.
Exactly.
Build good relationships. Don't take it for granted that this person can't pay me. This person is not
Exactly.
my
Don't burn the
direct boss,
bridge.
because your HR and now most times when they do those letters, or when they come verifying someone, is it HR they go to or personal man?
It would
Which
go
of-
to the head of HR, who would then speak to your ex-line manager.
Okay.
So if you had a fallout with your ex-line manager, the HR is going to have to report that as well. So you really need to be careful when you're leaving an organization. Even if they offended you, ensure to not burn the bridge. Because you really don't, you don't know who that request letter is going to fall into, whose hands. So it's best that you just ensure that you're leaving on a good note, such that even if it's going to come back to them, the best they can say is, oh, the person was a hardworking person, but she had an attitude problem. That when everything they say about you is completely negative and false. So
Okay. Who should you use as your referees? Can you use your pastor? Can you use
for
friends?
personal references, yes. So on your resume, I always recommend that you provide a personal reference and a previous employer reference.
Okay.
So that if your previous employer doesn't check out, at least your personal would check out. So you can use a pastor, you can use just an older friend, you can use your mentor,
Okay.
you can use your coach as a referee.
Is it okay to use maybe like your dean when you were in school? Or
Yes, especially for fresh graduates who are just coming
Okay.
out of university applying for jobs. I recommend that you use your dean, your head of department, your project supervisor as your references.
but it means that you have to have been a good student.
Yes, you have to have been a good student.
Because it will be payback. It will be payback for some of all those lecturers who believe.
Exactly. That you
okay.
messed up. I'm going to show you now.
Exactly. Okay. We have some vacancies that we'll take now. Ivy?
Okay, so we have French speaker for Zecom Systems Nigeria. Location is for Lagos. You should have a degree, BSc, HND. Just email jobs@zecomsystems.com. Zecom is spelled ZERCOM systems.com. Your subject should be AD French. We have procurement and logistic manager for Kanite Nigerian Limited. We also have for Synapse Services. They're looking for a senior medical officer for Lagos. We have LifePage Group Property and Investment, looking for an admin officer located in Abuja. You can send your resume for the admin position at careers@lifepagegroup.com. And then we have Tech Lab Management Services Limited, looking for head of audit. So for the ones that didn't provide email addresses, please send it to us, vacancywithalibaba@gmail.com.
Now, when you see something like this, you've watched the program and there's vacancy for a job in Lagos.
Yes.
And you want to come to Lagos
Yes.
to come and work. But you are in Abuja and you apply and they give you the job. Should you be thinking of accommodation issues
It depends
or
on
ask,
how.
or ask the company to...
Yeah, so some companies are open to paying for relocation, but you must have declared it, and the company budget should be such that they are happy to do that.
Okay.
Most often than not, organizations would rather stick with people who are already in the location
the
that they
location.
exist. However, what I advise candidates is if you live in a location outside of Lagos, you're applying for a job that is in Lagos, ensure that your address at the top of your resume has something in Lagos. That
Okay.
way, the HR manager won't fling your CV away.
Okay.
Because then they think, okay, he probably lives in Abuja, but has some family here in Lagos, so relocation won't be a challenge.
All right. We'll go for a break, and when we come back, we'll be rounding up. All right. Questions are coming in. Some people are calling. They don't want to talk live. They just want to ask the questions and Pastor. So the questions have been coming in. So I'll give Ivy her own first. Then, dear Ivy, what course do I need to read to become a human resource manager? I'm a BSc holder in English. So
I would say that the course you study in the university would not necessarily determine whether you become a HR manager, simply because what we use in the HR sector is people skills, compassion, having experience managing people. So you can study English, geography, geology, and still build a career in human resources. I studied law. I didn't study it in the university, but yet I'm a fantastic HR manager. What I recommend, however, is you do courses in human resource management that would help you to expand your knowledge.
Okay. And then the next question is, dear Alibaba, I'm a young graduate from UNN with a 2.1. Must I do my youth service or work with my dad for now? I think youth service is a compulsory national assignment that you do to it's a service to the country, and everyone that is below the age of 35, I think, must take part in that lesson. Because most organizations would ask if you have served your NYSC certificate, if you have served the country. If you work with your dad, then it means that you have to get a primary letter,
Yeah.
a letter from your NYSC directing you to serve with your dad, and then you also have to fulfill all the requirements of service here. Most times there must be a reason for you to not want to do your youth service. And if you have that, for instance, if you have medical issues, if you are above the age of 35, and if you're not, if you have medical issues really, and that's about it. But otherwise, yes, you must serve. I served, why not? You must serve. Everybody must serve. It's a punishment we're all qualified for. All right? That said, please, if you have any questions at all, please send them to vacancieswithalibaba@gmail.com, and we'll treat those. The CV is very important, and I would like Ivy to touch on the importance of a CV again before we go on.
Okay. Like I always say, a resume is your only opportunity to put your best foot forward. An organization would like to meet you, but before they meet you physically, they want to be able to see what you put on paper. So please ensure to update your resume every now and then, and don't leave out any information that you think would help the employer make a good decision.
All right. So sometimes you might be qualified and be disqualified by your CV.
Yes.
It's not really about whether you had a 2-1. They will take somebody who has a third class with a better CV, because the CV is an insight into the person that is coming to work with them. So it's good that you prepare a good CV. Can you get someone to prepare one for you?
Yes, there's so many professional CV writers, and it's their job. They know how best to write a resume to portray you positively. So please, if you can't write one, get a professional.
And when they do write a CV for you, please make sure you go through it.
Exactly.
So they don't put something there and then when you go for the interview, they say, so you went to UNN. Really? You say, oh, I did. They say you have experience in people marketing or people management. You said, well, I was a conductor once. That's people management. The boss conductor is. All right. That's it. Please, when when you apply for a job, make sure you know the job description, because what happens most times is that somebody says we need a marketing executive,
Yes.
and then you are applying for marketing manager.
Yeah. Two different things.
Two different things.
Two different experience needed for that role.
Okay.
So it's very important. And to be very fair to candidates, some hiring managers really do not send out job descriptions.
Okay.
They don't explain. They just put a title there and that's it. And people are desperate. But if you can, try as much as possible to also conduct researches on your own. If you go on Google and you enter job description for marketing executive, you would see what is expected from that person.
Okay.
So please be sure before you apply. Don't apply for a job that you are not qualified for or overqualified for. Maybe that's why you have not been getting any callback. And
then some people apply for jobs that were not requested for. For instance, they will look for a PR manager. Yeah. You are applying for a marketing executive.
Yeah.
They didn't request for marketing executive.
They believe in faith. They believe that maybe when I'm going through, I may stumble on their own and be wowed. And then call them in. It doesn't happen.
Okay. Like I did say, on this show will be, so from next week, we've prepared CVs. Next week, the CVs that we're going to take are CVs of accountants. So we're going to mention 10 top CVs of accountants. 10 top CVs of accountants. Then another week we'll do 10 top CVs of engineers, 10 top CVs of medical doctors and all of that stuff. So, but next week is for accountants. So if you have an accountant, if you have an accountancy degree and your CV is up to date, send it to vacancy at Alibaba, vacancy with Alibaba at gmail.com so that we can take those CVs and mention them. You just don't know. There could be someone who is looking for an accountant that will be looking out for the show next week, Tuesday.
Exactly.
And we'll be ready to employ you. All right?
Okay. Please remember to connect with us on social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram, Vacancy with Alibaba. We'll be happy to answer any questions and get back to you if you have any comments as well.
My handle on Instagram is Alibaba GCFR. And
I am at Iviecic, IVIECHIC.
Okay, and please, when you send us messages, we do not have jobs for you now, so don't send don't send your don't send your CVs in and then call next week to say, so where's the job? Okay, so you sent them in, and like we said, the accountancy job CVs, we're going to mention those ones next week. So 10, we're going to select 10 of them. How do we know which one to select? We're going to go through the CVs and see which. I'm going to forward the CVs that I've selected about like 20 or 30 and send them to Ivie. She's a pro. And so she's going to go through them, filter them, and then come up with 10 that we'll mention on the program. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you for having us. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Okay, we'll see you next week. Have a wonderful week.